mom, Katie Cole, met a handsome man with strong family values. She knew right away he was the one.
Anthony was excited to be a father. We couldn't wait to start our own family.
They had a beautiful home and they were very happy together.
But Katie's dreams of the perfect partner came crashing down when she discovered he was willing to do anything to hide his true nature.
Anthony was very controlling because he had a lot to hide. These guys were out there armed.
He spiraled out of control. I was definitely freaking out.
When it comes to love and marriage, things aren't always as they seem. In the fall of 2006, 25-year-old single mom Katie Cole was seeking her footing in the adult world.
My previous relationship just didn't work out, so I was taking business administration classes and raising my daughter. It was stressful being a single mom, but I had family and friends helping out a lot.
A Staten Island cop's daughter, Katie hadn't found the right career or Mr. Right yet. But the red-haired beauty did know one thing.
I was open to finding love, finding someone to help me, raise this baby up and take part in her life.
Unfortunately, no one really stood out to Katie. Until that September while at a party, when she met a friend of a friend, Anthony Greco.
At the end of the night, I was sitting in my car and he was throwing acorns at my car to get my attention, I guess. I said to my friend, I was like, is your friend an idiot? Why is he throwing things at my car? And she said,
that's just my friend Anthony.
I guess he didn't know what to say, and that was his way of being like, hey, notice me.
And Katie couldn't help but notice how attractive the 27-year-old was.
Anthony was handsome.
Katie.
On the outside, he was very rough and rugged. And I guess that's one of my faults. I always went for the bad boy.
So a few weeks later, Katie invited Anthony over for dinner. And was glad she did.
We talked about a lot of things.
So tell me about your daughter.
She's beautiful.
He did mention he wanted kids one day.
Really?
I really can't wait to have my own.
He was a foreman. His future goals were to open his own contracting company. I found Anthony's ambition and his drive to be attractive.
Over the next few weeks, Anthony began spending more and more time at Katie's house.
The relationship progressed really, really fast. Faster than I or anyone could have imagined it would. He was fantastic with my daughter. Being a single mom, it's a package deal, and, a lot of guys can't handle that, and
Anthony seemed to be more than happy with it.
When Katie met Anthony, he sounded like the perfect guy. He wanted to be involved with her and with her daughter. He sounded like he was able to provide her with everything that she had wanted and hoped for.
So just 2 months later, Katie and her daughter found themselves moving into Anthony's beautiful home.
He was like, the house is big enough for us, big enough for your daughter. It was moving fast, but it was moving in the right direction.
But she had no sooner moved in when drama came knocking on her new front door.
We're sitting on the couch, and it's late. Anthony said,
Oh my God, that's my ex-girlfriend.
I was like, wait, what? He said, let me go handle this. I hear her screaming, saying, you gave her the life that I was supposed to have.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be living here with you. This shouldn't be her right now. This should be us.
I was like shocked. He's like, I'm in love with this girl, and I want to spend the rest of my life with this girl. And then she's like, all right, I'm just glad you guys are happy.
I hope you guys have a wonderful life together.
She ends up leaving.
Anthony explained the incident by telling Katie that his ex-girlfriend Melissa had never accepted their breakup.
So that was the end of it. I let it go. Anthony seemed to be someone that I could have a future with.
So that Christmas Eve, Katie was thrilled when Anthony popped the question.
I was a little surprised that he had proposed so soon. But I was happy that my granddaughter had a father figure in her life.
2 months later, Katie and Anthony said their vows in an intimate ceremony at a gorgeous lakeside club.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I kind of felt like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually getting the fairy tale ending.
But it wouldn't take long for Katie's fairy tale to turn into a nightmare when her husband hatched a sinister plot that would destroy her family forever.
I never saw this coming.
The lengths he went to were unbelievable.
I started crying and screaming, just tell me the truth.
In February of 2007, newlyweds Katie and Anthony Greco were raising her daughter and anxious to start a family of their own.
I felt like no matter what happens now, you know, we're starting our life and it's official.
As one of her new wifely duties, Katie decided to take over the finances and soon discovered something odd.
Anthony did not know how to pay his bills. He didn't have a bank account. The money was not enough to cover all of the bills. I mean, the mortgage was out of control high.
But Anthony reassured his bride.
Don't even worry about it.
He told Katie he recently filed a lawsuit against the builder of his house and was expecting $1 million payday.
You get about $1 million.
A lawsuit.
Anthony was confident that the money from the lawsuit would solve all the problems financially that we were having.
Trust me, the robber bank for this family bad.
And I'm like, all right, okay.
So when Katie learned she was pregnant that May, she had every expectation that Anthony would be a provider for their family.
He always said, I want to make sure that my kids have everything I didn't have when I was growing up, and they never know the struggles that I knew.
But 4 months into her pregnancy, her husband was still struggling to make ends meet. So the two felt they had no choice but to foreclose on the house and move in with Katie's parents.
I was very excited when they moved home. I wanted them to be secure. I didn't want them to worry. A lot of people, small house, but we made it work.
Once their son was born in February 2008, Katie's hopes were bolstered by Anthony's ability as a loving father. Still, money was tight, so when Anthony suggested they move to Florida, where he was raised, Katie thought the move might be just what they needed.
He thought that it would be easier to get a job out there. It's a good place to raise kids, and I thought it would be ideal. That maybe we needed a fresh start.
So that spring, Anthony's family helped the couple rent an apartment in Tampa, and Anthony accepted a low-paying job as a security guard.
I think Anthony wanted to be the breadwinner and provider, but the money was still not enough to cover all of the bills. He kept thinking that this lawsuit's going to come and save the day. And I found out I was pregnant again. At first, I was just scared. He still wasn't able to support us, and I'm home with 2 kids. It was a sticky situation.
To add to her frustration, Katie couldn't help but notice something different about her husband in Florida.
He became more secretive. He began taking long walks at night without me. He was changed. One morning, the kids were still sleeping. Anthony decided he's going to go to the gym, and he left his phone on the table. So I looked through his phone, and I found a phone number that wasn't saved for a New York cell phone.
Katie was shaken when she recognized the voice that answered as Melissa.
I was shocked. I was like, are you kidding me? This is unbelievable. She said that he was telling her, I always loved you, I always wanted to be with you. The only reason I'm with her now is because I have children with her. And I'm like, oh my God, this is not happening right now.
Katie confronted Anthony the moment he stepped foot in the door.
I saw the number on the phone. Yeah, I talked to her.
Katie, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. She's been calling me.
I knew he was lying, but I had nobody in Florida, and I was isolated from everything. I was desperate to come home, be back in Staten Island. I told him, you're either with me or you're not, and he decided that he would rather have his family. So I gave him another chance.
So that winter, the Grecos all moved back to New York and into Katie's parents' home again. But not even the comforts of home could save Katie when her husband's strange behavior reached a whole new level.
I felt like I couldn't protect her or the grandkids.
He was really going off the deep end.
I was devastated. I never thought I would land in such a nightmare.
By the winter of 2008, after giving birth to their second child, Katie Greco and her husband Anthony had come full circle.
It was mixed emotions being back at my parents' house. I was glad because I knew we were okay and we were safe, but I felt defeated because we didn't make it in Florida.
So in November 2010, when Katie's grandfather died, the pair chose to move 85 miles away to Coopersburg, Pennsylvania.
I wanted to be closer to my grandmother, and it was more cost-effective to be up there. And the icing on the cake would be that we're not where the ex-girlfriend is.
Life seemed a little more stable for the couple. But the very next month, Katie was astounded to learn she was pregnant yet again.
I was scared to death.
I mean, granted, we were grounded and things were okay for the moment, but I knew with this last baby that we were always going to struggle.
Adding to the pressure, Anthony found out that the big payday he had been expecting wasn't coming.
When Anthony found out that the lawsuit was finally going to be settled for way less than he initially planned for, he was livid. Anthony definitely spiraled out of control. He became angry, irrational. He would fight with me over a fork being in the spoon's drawer, like nonsense.
It's just a fork.
You could tell that Katie was under a lot of stress. They had 3 kids. She was pregnant with the 4th. And she just wanted to come home.
I didn't want my kids to think that this was a normal, healthy relationship. So I decided to move back to Staten Island because his anger was out of control. Anthony tried everything in his power to get me to stay.
But I was done.
So in October 2012, Katie moved back home and gave birth to their 3rd child. She and Anthony were amicable and agreed to put off their custody hearing until the divorce was final.
We decided that he would take them every other weekend down to Pennsylvania. So that was fine by me. He would come get them on a Friday and return them on Sunday. They would go have a good time, come home, no problem.
But one weekend, Katie couldn't help but notice Anthony came to get the kids in a brand new car.
I walk out of the house and I'm looking for the minivan that he was driving. And he said, no, I'm driving this blue Cadillac. And I said, well, whose car is this? And he goes, oh, it's a relative of his, whatever.
And that wasn't the only change in her ex.
He looked like he got hit by a Mack truck. Forget 5 o'clock shadow. He had like 24-hour shadow.
Terrible.
Yeah, I know. I've been working late.
Something was definitely not right, but who am I to say, like, you don't look right, you're not taking the kids, I just kind of like noted it.
All right, let's go get this.
The next evening, Katie called to say goodnight to her children as usual.
He picked up the phone, sounded normal at first, no problem. All of a sudden he says, I have to let you know
There was an issue here. The cops were here.
What do you mean the cops were there?
And then he said there was a robbery in the area.
Oh my God.
The person tried to get into our house. He's like, don't worry, nothing's wrong. He really didn't get into specifics, and I thought it was over at that point.
But the following morning, when Katie received a phone call from a detective, she discovered it was far from over.
They were very scared. They felt like they were going to die that day.
I was freaking out. I knew I had to get my kids away from him.
On November 12, 2012, Katie Greco received an early morning wake-up call from a detective in Quakertown, Pennsylvania.
I pick up the phone, and the man on the other end says, this is Detective so-and-so, and he proceeds to tell me that there was a bank robbery.
Robbery.
The bank robbery occurred November 8, 2012 at the TD Bank, which is in Quakertown. The man comes into the bank wearing this ridiculous ZZ Top beard. He has a gun. He gets the money, runs out the door.
Luckily, no one was hurt, and the robber only netted about $650.
He said the person fled in a vehicle, and the vehicle was found on the property that was leased to me and my husband.
When the detective told Katie the make of the vehicle, she sat in utter shock.
He said it was a dark-colored Cadillac. Does that ring a bell? Now I'm reflecting on all the events of that weekend. The crazy look in his eyes, the way he sounded when I spoke to him on Saturday. I just initially felt like I couldn't be honest. I was like, no, I don't know of the blue Cadillac.
Katie could only think about one thing.
I text Anthony. I'm freaking out, and I just could not have my kids home soon enough.
Once the children were home safely, Katie barraged Anthony with questions.
When Anthony dropped the children off, I made sure they were in the house. They were out of earshot.
And I told him that the detective called. I said, I know you were driving that car. What's going on? And he's like,
It's not my car. Okay? It wasn't me. I had nothing to do with it.
he assured me that everything was fine, but I knew something wasn't right.
Whatever. I'm gonna go see the kids.
I thought about him joking about robbing a bank.
Trust me. Rob a bank is fast.
Like, who jokes about that?
Katie was determined to get to the bottom of it. And a few weeks later, she got her chance.
He had come over, and he was having a visit with the kids, and the kids had gone to bed, and we started drinking wine. And I said,
Look, I know what you did. You need to tell me the truth.
I deserve to know the truth. You had my kids up there. I trusted you, and I want to know now. And he said,
It didn't go his way.
You actually robbed a bank?
Katie listened in horror as the father of her children confessed to hatching a plan to rob the bank with a man named Joe Scala.
Anthony Greco and Joe Scala were longtime friends. Joseph Scala had a drug problem, and he would pretty much do anything. Anthony got his gullible friend to go along with it to get some money for drugs. But Anthony Greco was the mastermind of this crime.
he's like, I was supposed to pump gas. Joe was supposed to go into the bank, do it, take off, and then if the police were following him, I was to cut the police off, causing a crash and a diversion so he could get out of, the area. I was outraged because this meant
He brought my kids up there, knowing damn well what he did. So I called the lieutenant, and I said, you wanted to know if I heard anything else? And they said, well, I'm telling you what he told me. Me letting them know that he confessed to me was just icing on the cake. They had all kinds of evidence.
Cops were able to look inside the car. They saw gloves, they saw the bag, they saw all the stuff from the bank robbery.
Detectives matched the license plate from the Cadillac to Anthony Greco and the DNA from the items found in the car to Joe Scala. 4 months after the robbery, police arrested them both.
I was happy when Anthony was arrested, but I also knew that this was going to put a lot of stress on Katie. And to watch my friend go through all that was very painful.
On November 12, 2013, Anthony Greco pled guilty to 22 charges, including robbery, conspiracy, and reckless endangerment. He was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. His partner in crime, Joe Scala, pled guilty to the same charges and was sentenced to 7 to 14 years in prison due to the enhanced nature of his crimes.
Anthony Greco told the judge that at the time of the bank robbery, he had 4 kids, his wife was leaving him, and he thought if he had more money, she would stay.
it was just an excuse. He was so angry and so bitter over not getting this lawsuit money that he felt was his. I think his greed got the better of him.
Today, Katie is still dealing with the aftermath of her husband's crimes.
It hurt to have to tell my kids. I can handle a lot, but to look at your kids and have to explain things, big people problems to little people, they don't get it. If Katie ever decided to settle down again, that person would have their work cut out for them to prove themselves to be trustworthy.
But Katie still hopes that one day Anthony Jason Witt felt like his life was finally complete when he stumbled across his perfect match online.
Andrea is a beautiful woman, and there was great chemistry.
But behind Andrea Stanley's charismatic smile was a malicious secret.
We couldn't believe that this was actually happening.
You just can't predict what crazy people will do.
And one night, Jason would come face to face with true evil when he found himself in a fight like no other.
It takes an exceptionally cruel person to commit a crime like that.
I'm just so glad I can be here for my boys.
When it comes to love and marriage, things aren't always as they seem. 32-year-old bachelor Jason Witt appeared to have it all.
I had just finished up my MBA. I had just landed a job with a very good IT consulting firm and was doing really well. I was traveling almost every other week.
But by the summer of 2005, Jason realized one thing was missing: love.
I had come to this realization that I had probably dated a few girls in my past that I could have made a wonderful life with. My own level of commitment didn't allow that relationship to move forward.
He would talk about, what can I do better? How can he make himself a good match for someone?
As Jason plunged back into the dating scene, he was determined to get it right. That August, he joined an online dating site and quickly came across the profile of an attractive 24-year-old medical technician named Andrea Stanley.
Just shot her a quick note just to say, hi, how are you? I'm Jason. And got a response pretty quick.
The conversations that followed revealed clear chemistry.
Andrea had a very engaging writing style. She made me laugh from the get-go. We had an easy time bantering back and forth, so it was enjoyable just talking to her, even though I hadn't heard her voice.
Despite Jason's initial excitement, he did have one concern.
I had never dated someone with a child. Knowing that she had a daughter, I had some questions. I didn't know what that meant in terms of any custody issues.
But Jason didn't have to worry about the father at all.
When I heard her say that then, it came out so strong, like such a survivor. It was really impressive.
As the date wrapped up, Jason knew one thing was certain.
There's no doubt it was a great date, and I definitely wanted to see her again.
As 2005 came to a close, their relationship continued to blossom.
We were just kind of taking the natural steps that you'd expect in any serious relationship.
We couldn't be happier.
Me too.
They got along well. She shared his sense of humor. They enjoyed each other's company. That did give me the feeling that they were right for each other.
Then one night in February 2006, Andrea delivered some unexpected news.
There was an uncomfortable silence, and she simply said, I have something to say. She seemed scared to tell me, and she said,
I'm pregnant.
I was obviously surprised, and I didn't want to make any decisions quickly. It'll be fine.
But soon it became clear that Andrea wanted answers.
After probably a week and a half, she started asking me questions.
What's up, Jason? It's been 2 weeks.
I said, I am committed to you. I love you. We will have this baby together. Let's see how you and I do, and then we can make decisions that will impact this child long term.
Just one step at a time.
Her response was, either we're getting married or we're not. Getting married when she was showing was not an option. Here was that moment to say yes or no. The decision came down to yes, I'm in love with her, so I want to marry her.
Jason knew in his heart he was making the right decision. But before Jason could even pop the question, he would be thrown into a vortex of lies, deceit, and manipulation that would destroy everything he believed in.
He was just caught in this whirlwind of emotion.
I can't imagine how someone can keep such a deep, dark secret.
I didn't know what to do, and that's what just scared the dickens out of me.
In April 2006, Jason Witt couldn't be happier to be in love with Andrea Stanley, the future mother of his first child. But that joy was soon shattered when Jason received a distressing call from Andrea while on the road.
She was distraught, she was upset, and she's just, I don't know what's going on.
I lost the baby.
It was devastating, and that just made me worried for her.
Still, Jason knew what he wanted to do for the woman he loved.
I knew I still felt the way I did about her. I still loved her. I created a get-well bag. At the bottom was a diamond ring she says she had always hoped for.
It's my ring.
Will you marry me?
It was kind of a neat moment to recommit to the two of us.
With the ring on her finger, Andrea quickly bounced back and set a whirlwind date for 2 months later. But by the day of their nuptials, it seemed Andrea had morphed into a classic bridezilla.
She was texting me all kinds of things. She was going to leave me at the altar, and I was a horrible person, and I just didn't know what to do. I felt that she had been under a tremendous amount of stress. She was coming off losing a baby, so I gave her the benefit of the doubt.
I tried to just be positive for Jason and, look forward to a beautiful wedding that day. And fingers crossed that Andrea was actually going to show up.
In the end, Andrea did show up, and the wedding went off without a hitch. But over the next few months, it seemed to Jason that Andrea had a flair for the dramatic.
We had some ups and downs, which I felt was normal. What made me a little bit nervous was one fight in particular. She was just off the roof, angry, and within minutes, turned around like nothing had just happened. It was a real Jekyll and Hyde moment.
Then one night in January 2007, Andrea reached a new low.
Why didn't you respond to my text messages?
I had no idea what was going on. So I started questioning her, why are we always fighting? Where is this coming from? And Andrea started describing her depression.
Jason, I just want to die.
I was concerned that she was suffering having lost a child. I wanted to get her help.
I just want to kill myself.
Jason felt even worse after Andrea revealed that the anniversary of her rape was fast approaching.
We'll get you someone to talk to.
It's too late.
But a few weeks later, Andrea's spirits were lifted.
We find out we were going to have another baby, and we started seeing a doctor, and we knew she was not going to lose the baby. So it really did change the relationship. We were both ecstatic.
Jason was excited to be a father. I could definitely tell that this was something that he always wanted.
By the time she gave birth to their son that November, it seemed Jason and Andrea were finally hitting their stride.
We were both ecstatic. The first time holding my son, it just brought tears to my eyes.
But unfortunately, the upswing didn't last long.
I told you never to do anything like that.
One night, Andrea got upset at a comment that was made by her daughter.
I didn't do anything.
She was in the kitchen, and I just hear a crash.
Go to your room.
Andrea!
I run over, and then there's just broken glass all over the tile floor. She just had a fit of rage, and she just scared the heck out of me. So I said to her,
Give me our son! Give me our son!
Mom.
It's okay, sweetie. You'll be fine. Give me our son!
she would not hand me the baby.
With no other choice, Jason called the police, which caused Andrea to pack both kids in the car and take off.
At that point, I had no idea what she was capable of.
It was just the tip of the iceberg.
On May 2nd, 2008, Jason Witt called the police after his wife Andrea flew into a terrifying rage and took off with the kids.
I was scared because I had no idea what she was capable of. And the cops picked her up a couple miles into the next county.
But Andrea told police she'd merely been taking the children to dinner.
She had kind of charmed herself out of any sort of consequences. I was beginning to learn at this point that she could lie. She could lie fairly easily, readily, and people were going to believe her. I began to question the reality of the stories that she told me early on in our marriage, and I'd begun to wonder whether or not she had really been raped.
And by December 2008, Jason was even more certain that his instinct was right.
We had an argument, and Andrea had gone home to her parents, and her mom called me. And so my question to her mom was,
Did she ever get any help after her rape?
Her mom's response was, huh? And I said, she was not raped, was she? And her mom's response was, you need to speak to Andrea.
When Andrea finally returned home later that night, Jason did just that.
We need to talk.
She said to me, I was married.
I didn't want you to find out.
She told me that he did rape her, but she told me that he was the son of a prominent person in town. Her parents pressured her into marrying him anyway.
Jason didn't believe a word she said.
The dam broke because everything I believed about this woman was a lie.
But despite it all, Jason wanted to somehow save the marriage. He believed that counseling was the best next step.
I was shocked. I was very vocal with Jason in telling him that she was not going to change. But Jason was committed to the relationship.
Things were good for at least a couple weeks, and she got pregnant again. I was happy, but Andrea could never follow through with counseling. So that was when I realized that I don't have a partner in this. This isn't a marriage if there's only one person fighting for it.
With that, Jason felt there was only one thing to do.
Leaving a pregnant woman was not an easy decision for me at all.
On September 4th, 2009, after 3 years of marriage, Jason filed for divorce. He hoped the worst was behind him, but he was wrong.
The day I filed for divorce was the day I basically set off a nuclear bomb.
After giving birth to a second son, Andrea fought tooth and nail to keep their children from Jason. For over 2 years, a custody battle of epic proportions played out between the two of them.
Jason and Andrea were basically sharing custody. She initiated 6 false allegations of child abuse against him, with Child Protective Services alleging all manner of child abuse. She initiated 2 or 3 police investigations against him as well.
Every month I was dealing with a new accusation. I was dealing with accusations just left and right. This was just a harrowing experience, because when you're dealing with children, all she had to do was cry wolf, and the courts were going to believe her.
But when all allegations against Jason were proven false, a judge finally held Andrea in contempt and ordered her to allow visitation immediately.
I knew that Andrea was backed into a corner. For the first time, someone of authority had let her know that there were truly consequences to all this stuff that she was doing.
Over the next several weeks, Jason was surprised to hear very little from his ex.
There were no accusations. It was just quiet. And it felt good. It was her weekend to have the kids. So I dropped off the kids with Andrea, and I met some friends, and we went out and watched the Super Bowl. After getting home, I just went straight to my bedroom, and I just crashed.
But around 4 a.m., something stirred him from his sleep.
I remember hearing a shuffle right next to my bed. And I felt a crack right against my head. I can't see, it's dark. I don't know what's going on. And a big pop went off. And at that moment, I knew whoever it was had a gun.
And what he saw next would send his world spiraling out of control.
I was letting out whatever sound I could, and it was just a shriek.
In the early morning hours of February 6, 2012, Jason Witt found himself under attack.
I knew whoever it was had a gun, so I flipped the light on.
Andrea!
And Andrea's standing there, staring me down. My head was racing. I'm just wired at this point, adrenaline just running like crazy.
Turn over.
Andrea grabbed my hands and started to tie them up with plexi ties, and then began to pull the bed sheets off the bed and wrap them around me.
Andrea! No! You're gonna kill me!
I'm not gonna kill you, Jason. I love you. Stop struggling.
I couldn't breathe, and I could feel the plexi cuffs just loosening just that little bit. Eventually, I just pulled my arms out of the plexi cuffs, put a hole through the saran wrap. I started going after her, and the gun goes off. She was trying to shove her way into the room, so I started hitting her over the head with the gun. I shut the door and I locked it and called 911. I told them my ex-wife broke in. She tried to kill me. I need help. I don't know if she's still in the house. I don't know what's going on, but I need help. I need an ambulance and I need police here quick.
As police arrived, Andrea was nowhere to be found, and Jason was rushed to the emergency room. He had no clue until he arrived at the hospital that he'd been shot point blank in the face.
The bullet went through my cheek, under my ear, and out my neck, and didn't hit anything major. It's an absolute miracle.
Meanwhile, police located Andrea at a different hospital almost 4 hours away.
She told sheriff's deputies that she had been a victim of domestic violence, that her husband had beaten her with a gun.
She made claims that it was not her fault and that she was defending herself. Even after committing this horrible attack and then getting arrested at the hospital, Andrea was still lying.
It was shocking to me that she thought anyone would believe it.
Fortunately, all of Andrea's previous actions against Jason spoke volumes.
She was placed under arrest for aggravated assault for causing serious bodily injury with a deadly weapon.
Only a sick person can do this kind of thing. To walk in and torture him. God knows what her plan was. I mean, it's got to be the utmost evil.
On May 14th, 2013, Andrea went to trial, claiming she was a victim of domestic violence. But prosecutors were confident with the trail Andrea herself had left behind.
One of Andrea's boyfriends testified about the things that she had done with him that were very, very similar to what Jason had gone through. There was also evidence from a psychiatrist that she was a habitual liar. There was clear proof that Andrea had a disturbing pattern of terrorizing the men in her life.
I think Andrea is a very miserable, sad, sick individual. And it's just sad that her demons really ran so deep, she couldn't overcome them.
After 2 days of testimony, Andrea Stanley was convicted on all counts and was sentenced to 50 years in prison.
There was just a huge sense of relief. It just felt like 8 years of absolute hell was finally over.
Today, Jason continues to question everything he ever knew about Andrea.
I keep wondering how all this happened. I mean, there isn't a single word that she ever told me that I can truly rely on as honest truth.
And when he thinks about committing to a relationship, Jason keeps his focus on the people who matter most.
Jason has really stepped up. He is a full-time single dad. I think this has really turned him into a stronger person for the long run.
The boys and I are catching up on what we missed out on. And it's been just unbelievable to watch the kids grow, to have them come out of this situation, especially my oldest.
Sky was the limit.
We got to travel everywhere. We didn't have a care in the world. Tom was the male version of Michelle in some ways. They had a lot of fun together. He was just so full of adventure.
But Tom's appetite for adventure took a dark turn.
He was working for the Mexican gangster.
And everything Michelle thought she knew about her dashing husband would crash and burn.
There was no money. It was gone. He seemed like he was possessed.
There were times he'd be sitting on the couch twitching.
He was a total stranger to me. He was not the man I married.
When it comes to love and marriage, things aren't always as they seem. They say a girl never forgets her first kiss. For Michelle Broom, the moment came when she was just 14.
When I first met Tom, we were at a church youth group retreat. And we were around the fire. And he just kind of leaned over and planted a big one right in the mouth.
It was the summer of 1982, and 17-year-old Tom Broom was the catch of his small Jacksonville Beach, Florida town.
He was just running with a popular crowd, very athletic. Everybody knew who he was, and he got along with everybody.
But as popular as he was, Tom also had a bit of a dark streak.
He had had a couple of run-ins with police, just doing stupid prankish things, nothing super serious. I was kind of in awe of him because he was very popular, very cute. I was incredibly awkward, big glasses. After the kiss, I barely existed in his world. I would kind of admire him from afar and just go on my nerdy way.
And that was the end of Michelle's teenage crush. Until one day in the fall of 1991.
I had just graduated from college, and Tom was graduating from flight school. We ran into each other at a mutual friend's wedding, and just sparks flew. I remember being really impressed talking to him. I thought, wow, you know, here's somebody who came from a tough situation and they're making it work.
Michelle and Tom quickly became an item.
He and Michelle clicked. I remember thinking that this could be the one.
The glitch was that a couple months from that time, I had already decided that I was moving to LA to pursue my career as a performer. And I told him that after like the third or fourth date, and he immediately said, well, so am I then.
The next spring, Tom and Michelle headed west to pursue their dreams. Michelle had success singing with several local bands, while Tom easily landed a job as a flight instructor. 2 years later, Tom and Michelle knew they were meant to be. And in April 1994, they tied the knot back home in Florida.
I was excited that Michelle had found her guy and that she would be with him forever.
Our wedding was huge. We had a big reception with a killer band, and it was just a giant party. We couldn't get people to leave.
Back in California, the newlyweds quickly embarked on what seemed like an endless honeymoon.
We had various planes of his clients at our disposal a lot. We went to Fiji, to a private island. We went deep sea fishing in Alaska. It was a really, really fun time in our marriage.
But the honeymoon wouldn't last. Nearly 10 years later, the couple's jet-setting lifestyle would take a twisted turn. By the spring of 2005, Michelle was a mother of 2, and her globe-trotting days were mostly behind her. But Tom was often away on business, so Michelle kept her cell phone handy. And one day, she got a call that would change her life forever.
It was March 3rd, 2005. I was at the car repair shop and I got a phone call. I recognized the area code as somewhere in Georgia.
At first, Michelle thought the call was from her husband, who was flying to Atlanta that day. But the voice on the other end belonged to a district attorney, and he had shocking news.
He wanted me to know that they had had my family in surveillance for quite some time. I was completely confused. I said, I don't understand. What are you talking about? He said, you need to be extremely careful and you need to do whatever you feel you need to do to disappear. And he hung up.
The instructions were as perplexing as they were terrifying.
I didn't know what to think.
But as more information came in, Michelle soon found herself on the run.
They were telling me that he was working for the Mexican mafia.
It seemed her husband had been playing a very dangerous game.
He was a private pilot, but nobody knew what he was doing half the time.
In the spring of 1996, 10 years before the phone call that would change her life, Michelle Broom and her handsome husband Tom had the world at their feet.
We were very close. We were in love.
But one afternoon, 2 years into her marriage, Michelle...
I was really upset.
Still, it was just one mistake. Michelle decided to let the incident go. For the next 5 years, life carried on as usual. And by the winter of 2001, Michelle and Tom realized they were ready for their next adventure, parenthood.
I'm entering my 30s, the biological clock is ticking. So we decided, to give it a shot. And I got pregnant almost right away. Tom was just over the moon, so happy.
To prepare for the baby, Michelle took a steady job at a record label, and Tom began flying for several high-profile clients. The job meant Tom was often gone, but he was also pulling in 6 figures.
We were both very excited about our lives and careers and the baby coming.
But as Michelle's pregnancy wore on, she quickly realized that Tom had no intention of slowing down.
He was still taking off and taking his surf trips and his golf trips and his skiing trips, in addition to the trips that he was doing for his job.
He would get home from trips, come back, spend an hour, and then off he would go to be with his mates, off to the bar.
Michelle soon noticed that Tom was drinking heavily, and to make matters worse, he seemed to be developing another bad habit.
I overheard him on the phone, and he thought that nobody could hear him, but he was talking to somebody about placing a bet on teams that I'd never heard of before. I asked him about it, and I was like, well, then who were you betting with? Oh, it was, my buddy's book.
In January 2002, after the birth of their son, he kept his word.
He was just absolutely in love with our son, and I believed at that time that, okay, our lives have changed and he gets it, and he was home more the first month or two.
But when their son was just 3 months old, things took a turn for the worse.
Tom was in Mexico on a business trip, and he sometimes had trouble getting through the phone connections to check his voicemail from there. So he called me at one point and said, I can't get my voicemail.
Tom asked Michelle to check his messages, and when she did, she heard something completely unexpected.
There was a message from a woman. She was, hey, sweetie, I'm so sorry I missed you. Call me whenever you can, and we'll arrange to see each other. So I called Tom, and I said, who is this woman? I said her name, and there was dead silence.
Tom refused to discuss the matter over the phone. But the next day, he came home and came clean.
He was white when he walked in the door, and he said that he'd only seen her a couple of times, and she was a flight attendant, and they would occasionally connect if they were in the same city. I just looked at him and I thought, what are you... I had no idea you were even capable of this. I would never do this.
Michelle was devastated, but she wasn't ready to throw in the towel.
For better, for worse, I was brought up in that, you're married. You take a vow, and you go through trials, and you make it work.
Michelle insisted on counseling, and for a while, things got better. In 2004, just after their 10th wedding anniversary, Michelle realized she was pregnant again.
My thought was, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, you know, but okay, we're having a baby. We're gonna make this work.
But just 1 month into her pregnancy, Michelle's hopes for a renewed marriage were shattered as Tom reverted back to his old ways, and much, much worse.
Tom's drug use was just as bad as his drinking.
He was scary. He seemed like he was possessed.
I just had this overwhelming feeling that he was hiding.
By the spring of 2004, 10 years into her roller coaster marriage, Michelle Broom could only watch as her husband's self-destructive behavior escalated. Everyone was concerned.
Tom was not in a good place. He was drinking a lot. He was away a lot. He wasn't comfortable. And it was really hard to watch.
That December, Michelle went into labor with her daughter. What should have been a joyful time seemed almost agonizing for Tom.
It was like he was jumping out of his skin being there. He couldn't sit still. He was constantly on the phone. He was pacing, even after the baby was born.
It was disturbing behavior, but Michelle would soon learn that Tom was hiding a much darker secret. On March 3rd, 2005, 9 weeks after the birth of their daughter, Tom was flying to Atlanta on business. Michelle was at the mechanics when she got an alarming call from a district attorney in Georgia.
He said, your family's been under surveillance for quite some time now. I know that you know nothing. And he said, your husband has been arrested. We have him in custody. He was found with a large amount of cocaine on his airplane.
The DA couldn't give Michelle any more details over the phone, but his final words were chilling.
And he said, you and the kids are in danger. You need to disappear.
Frantic and confused, Michelle raced to pick up her children. She then made a beeline for the bank. And that's when she got another horrible surprise.
I went to try and withdraw money, and it was gone. There was no money in there. It just didn't make sense. I called my sister, Renee. She was working, and I just said, drop everything.
When I got to Michelle, she looked like she was in a complete fog. Everyone's main concern was getting her to a place where nobody could find her. We went to my younger sister's house because she lived in a gated community.
2 hours after she arrived at her sister's, Michelle got a phone call from Tom.
He was at the county jail, and I'm trying to ask questions. What happened? Who were you flying with? Who was the person that called me? Why were we under surveillance?
Tom refused to get into it over the phone.
He kept saying, I can't talk too much because they're listening. Get me home so that we can sort this out. Then I'll tell you everything.
Tom's bail had been set at $250,000. Michelle was forced to borrow the money from friends. 3 weeks later, Tom Broom was back in California.
A friend of ours picked him up at the airport and brought him over to my sister's apartment. And he walked in the door. He had this look on his face, like a sheepish look on his face, like, I got caught. I'm really dreading having to tell you this. He said there were drugs. The gambling was just outrageous. And he said that the money was gone. He had gambled it all away.
Desperate to replace the couple's squandered savings, Tom began taking flights for someone he had met in LA.
This guy had offered him cash to fly these flights from Los Angeles to Atlanta and back. No passengers on the plane, just suitcases, no questions asked. And every time he made one of these flights, he would make a giant chunk of cash, like tens of thousands of dollars.
During his last flight, Tom had been stopped by customs.
They started questioning him. He gave them all the paperwork on the plane and his license and everything, like it was just a routine check. And they said, is it okay if we search your plane? They asked him to open a certain compartment on the plane. He said he didn't have the keys to it. They brought out dogs, and the dogs immediately went to that section of the plane and started going crazy.
I think it was like 4 suitcases filled with pure cocaine. I mean, it's not even cut with anything.
He was caught with 65 kilos, which has a street value of a couple $1 million.
Tom insisted he didn't know what was in the suitcases. But he did have one more horrible admission to make. The man he was flying for was also a member of the notorious and dangerous Mexican mafia.
Obviously, I understood at that point why our lives were in danger. But immediately I thought, well, how do I know that we're not still?
Tom insisted the danger was over.
He said, oh no, you're fine. The main guy, the kingpin, he's long gone. They'll never get him.
But there was no relief. Things were about to spiral completely out of control.
The fear of what was happening just gripped him.
He was going off the deep end. He was a total stranger to me. He was not the man I married.
In March 2005, Michelle Broom's entire world had been turned upside down. Her husband Tom stood accused of drug trafficking and was on house arrest. His claims of innocence were starting to ring hollow.
I said, you know, if somebody's offering you that much cash to fly a plane with no people on it, with locked suitcases, something's going on.
The stress with Michelle was tangible. She tried to hold it together, but it was really, really hard.
The couple now needed to hire an expensive defense team. But Tom's irresponsible behavior had left them penniless.
We were looking at financial ruin, basically.
On the advice of an attorney, Michelle started divorce proceedings.
It was unclear yet whether or not the government was going to come in and seize any of our assets. I was told that if I filed for divorce, if we had any money left over, I could possibly allocate it as child support.
It was a heartbreaking scene, but it was just the beginning. When the couple met with Tom's defense team that April, Michelle realized that her husband had no chance.
They could link him to dozens of these flights, and it had been going on for quite some time, over a year at least. They had conversations recorded. They had instances where he was flying and would change the tail number of the plane mid-route, or change the destination of the plane mid-route, which is a common thing that drug runners do.
Even worse, Tom had also hand-delivered the suitcases to their recipient in Georgia.
He knew the guy's name that he was meeting with. He had a regular meeting point with him. I was blown away. At one point, I looked up and I had this feeling looking at him like
Broom went back to jail. That winter, he pled guilty to possession of narcotics with an intent to distribute. There was no trial, and Tom was granted leniency for cooperating with the investigation. He was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison.
It was heartbreaking on many different levels, both watching him as a human being, somebody I care about, watching a marriage completely disappear.
Michelle has traveled a long, hard road since that first kiss almost 30 years ago. Today, she's a single parent. And while she continues to struggle financially, she has an unwavering support system in her family.
The bond that I have and that my kids have now with their grandparents and my sisters and my brother-in-laws is incredible. I could not have made it through this with my sanity somewhat intact without them.
And now, with strength and courage, Michelle is ready to face her next hurdle, Tom's release.
I've talked to him at length about what's going to happen when he gets out. I want him to be a part of the kids' lives.
Tia Castile met Chef Wayne Chin on an Alaskan cruise. She thought her ship had finally come in.
He was gregarious, he was fun, he was sensitive. Mom was head over heels in love.
But life with Wayne was hardly the ride she expected.
There was a sheriff standing there, and he said, "Do you know Wayne Chin?"
Wayne's checkered past would soon catch up with him and put their marriage on a collision course with disaster.
The lies he's telling aren't petty lies. These are serious, serious lies.
When it comes to love and marriage, things aren't always as they seem. Cynthia Castile never planned for heartbreak. She always believed in happily ever after.
I'm probably one of the world's best optimists. I love being a wife, so I just figured I would always be married for the rest of my life.
But after a devastating divorce, Cynthia's heart seemed forever on the mend.
Cynthia's first marriage broke up because her husband had an affair with one of Cynthia's friends.
It was very devastating to have that come to an end and then feel like a failure. You know, why couldn't I make it work?
7 years had done little to repair the damage, so in April of 1998, 45-year-old Cynthia left her small town in Oregon to embark on a new adventure.
I was speaking with a close girlfriend, and she said to me, well, Cynthia, what about, like a job on a cruise ship?
Cynthia found a customer relations position on an Alaskan cruise line. Soon, she was surrounded by new sights, new cities, and a new man, the ship's chef, Wayne Yi Chin. From the moment they met, Wayne came on strong.
I was trying to kind of make a bouquet out of the flowers that was there, and Wayne came by and he goes, oh, he said, those are pretty. Are those yours? I said, no, no one ever sends me flowers. And when I went down to my cabin that afternoon to change my clothes, there was a bouquet of flowers with a card from him. The next day we actually talked, and he told me he had every intentions of making me his wife. I'm looking at him thinking, okay, whatever.
Wayne told Cynthia he had learned to cook in the Navy, where he still served as a reserve officer.
That made me feel good because he is patriotic. He was doing something to help his fellow man.
Wayne seemed perfect, and by now, Cynthia was eager to open her heart again.
She called and said, I've met somebody.
We just fell in love. I hadn't had a man pay attention to me in over, 7 years. And he was wonderful. He was gregarious, he was sensitive, he was fun.
And Wayne was open about his own painful past.
Wayne had been through a very horrendous divorce. He had 3 children, and he had found her in bed with another man, and he had been terribly hurt. I could identify with that because I had been in that position too.
But that wouldn't stop Wayne from trying again. In September of 1999, after 1 month together at sea, he proposed to Cynthia.
Wayne said, come in the cooler for a minute. And then he dropped an emerald and diamond ring in my hand and said, this is my promise that I'll be faithful to you for the rest of your life. And I was so excited to be able to say, I'm going to be somebody's wife again.
But the happy glow of their new engagement didn't last long.
I couldn't believe that somebody would be so cruel as to do this. It was just heart-wrenching.
Despite the tragedy, Wayne was still eager to marry Cynthia right away.
He said people's lives cross for a reason, and that I was the best thing that had ever happened to him, and that he wanted me with him for the rest of his life.
2 weeks later, Cynthia and Wayne tied the knot in a small ceremony in Cynthia's hometown of Eagle Creek, Oregon.
We catered our own wedding reception. My mom did the cake, and I was real excited that I'm going to have that special connection with that person.
She was absolutely beautiful. She had a glow because she was happy.
The newlyweds quickly settled into life back on land, and in January of 2000, they found new jobs together as managers at a motel on the Oregon coast.
Our apartment was behind the reception area. I was supposed to do the front counter. He was supposed to do the maintenance and the yards and things like that.
But the newlywed bliss wouldn't last long. On Valentine's Day, just 4 months after their wedding, the couple got a surprise visit from an unwelcome guest.
A buzzer in our apartment rang, and there was a Lincoln County sheriff standing there. And I said, well, can I help you? And he said, do you know Wayne Chin? And he walked out, and so the sheriff told him he had a warrant for his arrest. It was just like somebody had just kicked me in the gut.
Cynthia would soon find out that not only was her new husband a wanted man, he was keeping secrets that would jeopardize their jobs and their marriage.
Wayne Chin is a mastermind of being able to manipulate women.
For Cynthia Castile, Valentine's Day of 2000 was memorable for all the wrong reasons. Her husband, Wayne Chin, had just been arrested, right in the lobby of the Oregon motel they managed.
Wayne said, "There's got to be a mistake." He told me that our housekeeper and her boyfriend had used a debit card of one of the guests and had signed his name to the card.
But after arresting him for theft, police discovered that this was far from his first offense.
They ran his name and discovered that he had a warrant out for his arrest from Lewis County, Washington.
In Washington, Wayne was convicted of a forgery charge, and the court required him to do a certain number of things. Well, apparently he didn't do those things, and he faced a bail jumping charge.
But Wayne told Cynthia there was a logical explanation, claiming a vindictive ex-girlfriend had falsely accused him of stealing her financial information.
He told me that he had purchased a car with his previous girlfriend, and then she tried to back out of the deal. But he told me he had taken care of it. He didn't understand why this was happening.
He kept saying, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do anything wrong. But I kept telling Mom, then why has he been arrested?
But Cynthia was confident in her man.
Cynthia loved him. He loved her. And so she ended up writing checks for $14,000 to defend the man she loves from this criminal charge.
5 weeks later, Wayne was free, and married life was back on track. In April of 2001,
the couple found new jobs together once again, this time managing a popular seafood restaurant in a nearby town.
We set up a menu where the ocean meets the plate was our little catchphrase. And, and here was a dream come true for both of us.
But the dream had one flaw. Wayne often had to leave home for Naval Reserve training.
Cynthia would tell me that he was spending the weekend up in Washington. And I'm going, there's no water up there. Why is he going to Central Washington as the Naval Reserve?
He started supposedly getting emails from a commander in the Navy. She showed them to me. I said, wait a minute. If it's an official military email, it's not going to come from a Yahoo account. It's going to come from a military account. Something's not right.
But once again, Cynthia gave Wayne the benefit of the doubt, until that June, when the law paid them another visit.
We were just getting ready to close for the evening, and a county sheriff shows up. It's like, oh my gosh, now they're going to haul Wayne off again. The sheriff takes Wayne, and I sit down on the bench behind the reception area at the restaurant and cry.
Wayne had skipped yet another court date for his forgery charge. This time, he would spend 8 months in a Washington state prison.
I was very, very unhappy. But all married couples do go through good times, bad times.
Anytime that she went up to visit him, she just did not sound like her normal self. You could hear the sadness in her voice after that.
When Wayne was released from prison in August of 2002, Cynthia was there to pick him up. She was determined to put the past behind them. She was about to turn 50, and Wayne wanted to throw her a party.
He said, yeah, let's, plan the party. I will find a place to have it at. I'll pay for it. I'll make sure she gets there.
But the night before the celebration, Wayne got a disappointing call.
The phone rang, and he goes, well, that was my parole officer from Lewis County. They're coming to do an in-home visit tomorrow. And I said, Wayne, my party's tomorrow. What am I supposed to do? He goes, oh, just go. It'll be fine. He goes, you just go in the hotel, and they have it all set up for you.
The next day, Cynthia drove alone to her party, 2 hours away. But what greeted her there was a terrible surprise, one that would destroy her faith in her husband forever.
He lied to the entire family. It was like a punch in the gut for all of us.
So I went back out and I sat in the car and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried.
It was January 13th, 2003, Cynthia Castile's 50th birthday celebration. Her husband Wayne had planned a fancy party, even though a parole visit meant he couldn't be there.
I travel the 2.5 hours up from the coast to the hotel restaurant where the party's supposed to be, and I go into the hostess desk, tell them who I am and what's supposed to be there, and there's no reservations.
They said, "We have no record of a party being booked for today. There's been no payment made. We don't know who you're talking about."
So I went back out and I sat in the car and I cried. And I cried and I cried and I cried.
When Cynthia returned home, Wayne tried to persuade her the hotel made a mistake. But she wasn't buying it. Her blind faith in Wayne had been shattered.
So the next day when he went to work, I got the number of his parole officer for Lewis County and called her and said, just wanted to know, do you do out-of-state in-home visits? And she says, no.
That evening, Cynthia confronted her husband.
I said, so Wayne, how was that visit yesterday? Everything go okay? He said, it went great. And I said, well, that's funny. I talked to her today and they don't do out-of-state in-home visits. So backpedaling really fast, he told me, well, it was one of her other associates. And so I just finally said, whatever.
I think it was the final straw. I think that started her really reconsidering things, really questioning everything even more.
But despite her growing doubts, Cynthia couldn't face the prospect of another divorce. So she swallowed her pride and gave Wayne one last chance.
It's because you believe so strongly in this person. It overshadows that unbelief. And that's what was happening. I mean, this man told me he loved me for the rest of my life.
2 months later, in March of 2003, Wayne found a new job opportunity at a restaurant in Colorado, over 1,000 miles away.
I told Wayne that there was no sense in me quitting my job. I might as well stay till June and then I would come and join him.
For months, the couple talked by phone, planning their future together in the Rockies. Until one day in late August, when Cynthia got a strange call from her husband.
He goes, have you checked your email? And I go, well, why? He goes, you just need to check your email.
Cynthia hung up, logged on, and sure enough, there was an email from Wayne asking for a divorce.
I broke down and I cried. All my dreams were now all gone. I was nobody's wife again.
But Cynthia's heartbreak was just beginning. In early January 2004, she phoned Wayne at work to tell him the divorce papers were ready.
The owner of the place came on the phone and she says, well, he doesn't work here anymore. I fired him in December. But he still is here in Estes Park with his wife, Kim. And I said, well, I'm his wife. She says, well, he's got 2 of them, doesn't he?
Cynthia had lived with Wayne's petty crimes and even forgiven his lies. But to her, the bigamy was the ultimate betrayal. Little did she know, it was just the tip of the iceberg. As Cynthia poured through Wayne's personal documents, she soon discovered that the man she'd opened her heart to was little more than a common crook.
Wayne Chin has a criminal record in Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. He went to work at a lumber mill as a security guard. He was accused of burning down the lumber mill, and we know he actually went to prison for that.
And Wayne wasn't a naval officer or in the reserves. He had been discharged from the Navy decades earlier.
So the whole time that Wayne was doing the Naval Reserves was all bogus. I was completely dumbfounded that somebody could figure this all out and not think that they would get caught.
It seemed that everything Cynthia had loved about Wayne was a lie, but she was about to get even.
I thought there might be 2 women, 3 women, but there's 4, there's 5, there's 6, there's 7.
He didn't have any remorse, he don't care. And I had had enough.
In January of 2004, Cynthia Castile was stunned to discover that her husband Wayne Chin was a bigamist, living a double life with another wife in Colorado. But that was far from all.
Here I was caught up in this web of all this mystery, all these unanswered questions.
Cynthia soon learned that Wayne had a long history of manipulating and marrying women.
You start looking at court documents and you realize there isn't 2, there isn't 3, there's 4, there's 5, there's 6, there's 7, and that is just the women he's married.
Determined to unravel Wayne's lies once and for all, Cynthia reached out to the women in his past.
I sat down and I wrote a letter listing all of these women's email address and put all the details of the bigamy, and I contacted the ex-wife, and we played a lot of I'll tell you if you tell me.
It soon became clear how Wayne won so many hearts.
Wayne Chin is a mastermind of being able to manipulate women. One of the things he says is that he's in the Navy, and that gives him dignity and cachet, and it's one of the things that they're drawn to, a man in uniform. He comes in at the right time, he woos them, he tells them the things that they want to hear, especially in that time in their lives where they feel vulnerable, and then he marries them, and once he marries them, he has access to their finances, just like any husband or wife does.
And when things began to get complicated, it seemed that Wayne had a clever exit plan.
One of his big cons with one of his fiancées is that he got called up to Iraq. So he goes to Iraq, and while he's in Iraq, he's calling her in the middle of the night when she's asleep because Iraq is on a different time zone.
Hey, you, hold on just a minute. Roger that, Enterprise 6-7. Message confirmed. Secondary is on its way to you as I speak. Anyway, just calling you.
And she's back in this country trying to, keep him supported by writing checks to pay his bills. Meanwhile, he's off somewhere else, married to another woman.
So you let this pathological liar into your life that messes up everything, and there's no law against lying. So if there's no law against lying, then how do we stop this person?
I investigate a lot of crooks, but usually it has to do with something that's an object, like a car or credit cards. But this case is different because he's using love. Love is the thing that he uses to take advantage of people.
And there was one lie that was the most disturbing of all. Wayne's 2 children were very much alive.
That is one of the key parts of his con. By telling his women that his 2 children have died in a car wreck, he's opening himself up. And they want to give him their shoulder to cry on. And it's one of the things that bonds them the most to him, that he's lived through this tragedy.
I was just literally floored. Why would anybody use their children like that to further their own cause? Why would anybody do that?
It was the final straw for Cynthia. She marched down to the sheriff's office and filed bigamy charges against Wayne.
I think Cynthia had come to realize that he really was a liar, a cheat, and a scumbag. And I think it was probably more of a relief to her.
In July 2004, Wayne Yi Chin was found guilty of bigamy. He spent 10 days in jail and paid a $500 fine, the maximum penalty that Oregon law allowed. This time, Cynthia didn't pay his legal fees.
And when I walked out of the room, then I just completely fell all apart. It was time to let it all go, just to melt away and then be strong again.
Their divorce became official on October 26, 2004.
I was very relieved that he was gone, that he wasn't going to be a part of my life anymore. But I wasn't anybody's wife anymore. That's the heartache that I have.
Today, Cynthia is no longer caring for her man, but she hasn't stopped caring for others.
I live with my mom here. Both my girls live within 6 miles, and my grandchildren. I'm head of dining services at an assisted living center, and enjoy my job very much. Life is just good.
Though Cynthia is dating, she's unsure that she will ever marry again.